Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I actually just want to have a very casual chat with you about some of the products that I have been absolutely loving in the last few months. So we're just going to get right into it, and I'm going to start with blushes. First up, I want to mention ColourPop blushes. This is a creamy blush. It has, as you can see, this sort of moussey, pillowy texture. And it is so easy to apply and blend on the skin. This shade right here is Quarters. This is one of my absolute top favorite shades. This is what it looks like. You can see how stunning that color is. And I'm just going to swatch that. So that there is Quarters. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. Wow, these blushes are really incredible. If you haven't actually tried ColourPop blushes, I highly recommend you do, because they are not only affordable, but they actually perform like high-end blushes. Yeah. Next up, I want to mention Shiseido. So Shiseido is one of those brands that is quite interesting. They came up with all these products that quite a few of them haven't tried, but these Shiseido whipped powder blushes, oh my god. This is the shade Momoko, and just look at that color. Oh my god. It is so stunning. The shade itself is incredible, and then I just want to show you the texture. So if I was to dip my finger in here, you can see, but it's very, very soft. So whereas ColourPop had a little bit of a pressed moussey texture, this is more like a cream, and I can't even describe it. It's so beautiful. And then I'm just gonna, oh my god. Talk about the perfect shade for summer. How stunning is that? So this is the shade Momoko. If you've seen my no makeup tutorial, this is the shade that I use kind of all over my face. I've just blended this in, and this is what the color looks like. It looks so great on my skin tone. It does have very small specks of shimmer, very, very tiny, and you can't really see them on the cheek. I mean, I can't really see them on the cheek, but they are there. It actually matches really well with my top as well. You're close to my skin tone, I think it will look really, really stunning on you. There's actually more of these Shiseido blushes I want to pick up, but yep, they are expensive. Next up, I want to mention the Pat McGrath blushes. I've actually been enjoying two specific shades. So I've swatched all 9 shades for you. If you haven't seen them, check that out. But my two favorite shades, one of them is Nude Venus. This is a shade that I love on its own. So as a blush by itself, it is so stunning. It's this peachy pink shade. It has that pearl formula. I really enjoy the pearl formula as long as you apply, I don't apply too much of it, but if you apply a little bit too much, you see a lot more shimmer on the cheek, which I'm not particularly a fan of. But if you don't apply a lot, then you will be fine. And the next shade that I have been loving is Desert Orchid. Now, Desert Orchid I've actually been loving as a blush topper. So this is a shade that if I want a beautifully warm highlighted look on the cheek, I'm not wearing it today if you're curious, but if I want a warm highlighted cheek but I don't really want to use highlighter, I can actually go with this shade right on top and apply it just at the tops of my cheek right here, and it gives a really beautiful warm golden sheen to the skin. It looks so pretty. Let me just swatch this for you as well. Nude Venus I love on its own, and Desert Orchid I have been loving as a blush topper. So that at the top there is Desert Orchid. It actually looks quite similar to Quarters, but it's not. I'm quickly going to swatch ColourPop Quarters right next to that. So as you can see, this is ColourPop Quarters. It's a lot warmer, a lot more orange pumpkin terracotta shade versus Desert Orchid, which is a lot more muted in tone. Next up, I've also been wearing a lot is the Ilia blush in the shade Waking Up. This is such a beautiful color. Oh, it smells so good. It's like toffee. It's a toffee scent. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Perfect nude color on me. Look at that. So this is the shade Waking Up. How gorgeous. It looks so creamy, so pigmented. Wow. It's stunning. It really looks stunning on the cheek as well. So I highly recommend the shade Waking Up. I have done swatches of Ilia as well if you're interested. Then the next shade I've also been loving is Nudestix. Now this is the shade Peach. It's actually a true peach. So if you've been looking for a true peach cream blush, This is it. This is so pretty. Let me swatch this. Okay, so this is the shade Nude Peach. You see that? So it most definitely a beautiful peach shade, looks great on people with tan skin. So if you are in the market for a peach shade, I think check out Nudestix. I love cream blushes. Oh my gosh, I can never have enough of cream blushes. I've also really been loving the Natasha Denona liquid puff paints. Wow, this formula is so beautiful, so soft and seamless on the skin. They last all day. There's no issues with longevity. And of course, I want to swatch shade 10 for you because that is one of my absolute favorite shades out of the three. And 10 is a shade that the minute I saw Natasha Denona coming out with these blushes, instantly I knew that I had to grab shade 10. So this is shade 10. And it works like the most amazing nude blush on my skin tone. I'm so impressed. I think Natasha Denona hit it out of the park with these liquid blushes. I've also really enjoyed the shade Bloom. So Bloom is actually kind of lives in my handbag because I also end up using it as like a lip stain. And it kind of lasts for a decent amount of time through eating and drinking. And what I do is add a bit of this, add a bit of gloss or a lip balm on top, and I'm good to go. So I've really been enjoying that as well. I want to talk to you about Natasha Denona Love Cheek Duo. So the star of the show in this is actually not the highlighter, it's this cream blush. This cream blush is so pretty. I would love it if Natasha Denona came out with more shades in this formula. And I mean the highlighter is really pretty. The shade of this highlighter is stunning. It's just a little bit too sparkly for my preference, so I don't end up reaching for the highlighter. If you have combo to oily skin and you don't like cream cheek products, you don't like cream blushes because they can make you oily really quickly, I highly recommend you try this formula. It really smooths the texture on the skin. It doesn't make cheeks oily. It's just so beautiful. And this is the shade right here. So this one is the Love Cheek Duo. Look at that color. Stays put all day. Phenomenal quality. So those were the blushes that I've really been reaching for the last few months, and I've really been enjoying them. Next up, I quickly want to touch on a couple of bronzers. So what a surprise. I mean, the Huda Beauty bronzer, hands down, I'm going to say is probably going to be the bronzer of the year for me. This is beautiful. It is so creamy. I mean, you just dip your finger in and it's beautifully creamy. The shade is stunning. And I'm just gonna pop it. I've done a whole review video for this bronzer. You can see this shade right here. It applies and blends effortlessly into the skin. It actually just looks like skin when you apply it, which is incredible. I'm very impressed. If you want to see how this applies on my skin, check out my video because I go a little bit more detail about this bronzer, but definitely has been a favorite. I've been using it for work. I've been using it going out. I've just been using it. Another bronzer I want to recommend because I know you guys are in summer. So for summer, there's nothing better than the Kosas bronzer. I mean, I'm serious. There's nothing better than the Kosas bronzer for summer. I'm just going to quickly swatch this. So I have talked about this bronzer quite a few times on my channel. I've done a whole video on it as well. So if you wanted to see how this applies and get into a bit more detail with swatch comparisons, you can check that out. Now I'm just going to swatch right here. The Kosas bronzer has shimmer in it. So if you don't like shimmer, it's probably not for you. But it has like this really beautiful sheen, and it really doesn't look glittery or overly shimmery on the skin. I mean, I don't like products that are very sparkly or shimmery, and I can tell you that this bronzer is nothing like that. And you can see from the hand swatch, you cannot even pick out pieces of shimmer in there because they're so fine. It just gives you this bronzed sheen to the cheek. It's incredible. It's really incredible. If you're looking for a summer bronzer, I just don't think you need to look any further than Kosas. Now, while I just have this here, I want to quickly mention the By Terry powder. So I've been using By Terry not really as a face powder because it doesn't have any oil control properties, which is a good thing. Because what I love this for is actually for my under eyes. By Terry shade 300. That's that yellow shade right there. And I love it for under the eyes. It is such a finely milled powder. I'm struggling to think of a powder that is as finely milled as this. Probably the Dior loose powder is going to be a match for this one, but the Dior powder is not good for under the eyes. It's a little bit too mattifying, so it's going to really dry out that under eye area. So I don't recommend the Dior Forever Cushion Loose powder for under the eyes. But by Terry, what I love about this powder is that when I apply this under my eyes never look matte. They actually always retain that sheen, that moisture from the concealer, and I love that. So this is really what I use for work. This is what I use for every day. I saw a review by Tara Lynn. She said that she didn't particularly like this powder just because she said she has wrinkles, and this kind of emphasizes the wrinkles. Now, I don't have eye wrinkles, so I can't tell you if this is going to emphasize your wrinkles or not. So maybe it's not best for mature skin, but I do recommend you check out some reviews to see if this is something you will like or not. I love it, but again, only really for under eye, not for the entire face, just because I have combo skin. If you have dry skin, you will probably really like this for all over the face as well. Another powder I think is fabulous is the Kosas powder. I have the shade Cushiony. I've done a whole video on this. So this is the shade right here for Kosas. You can see how much of a golden shade that is. It's perfect for people that have combination skin because it'll give you a little bit of oil control, but it doesn't look too heavy or too powdery on the skin. I feel like this is a formula that will also be great on drier skin tones because it doesn't dry you out or gives you that little cakey look that powder can give sometimes. So beautiful powder from Kosas. They comes in like a million shades. I love it, and this shade for me is perfection. Now let's move on to some eyeshadow palettes and some single eyeshadows that I've been loving. So first up is the Mini Gold palette from Natasha Denona. This is such a beautiful palette. I did a look with it when I went out for dinner with some friends, and it looks so stunning in restaurant lighting, and it's just, I mean, check out the swatches. Look at that. Wow, look how beautiful these swatches are, and that's just one swipe. This is definitely worth the money. If you like the color story of this palette, it's beautiful. I mean, of course, you can't get like too many looks out of it, but I think it serves its purpose. I don't really have anything in my existing collection where I can actually get looks that I can get from this palette, so I really appreciate that. Next up, I actually want to mention the Charlotte Tilbury Bejeweled Eyes to Hypnotize palette that came out for holiday last year. So I actually picked this up pretty late, and I didn't pick it up when it got released. This is one of those palettes that I was eyeing and I really wanted it, and yet I was like, oh no. I kept faffing around, and then eventually I ended up getting it. Now, this palette does have its pros and cons. For a palette that has all these shimmer shades that aren't actually sparkly, so if you don't like sparkly shimmer shades, you're in luck because none of these shades are actually sparkly, which is fantastic. They're in fact very smooth shimmers. And what surprised me with this palette was fallout. You get fallout from this palette from the matte shades as well as the shimmery shades, which is very interesting. Normally I only find that shimmer shades will give me fallout if they're very sparkly or very glittery. Those type of shades will give me fallout. But this is a type of palette that just gave me fallout for most of these shades in this palette, which was very surprising. Now, knowing that this has fallout, I would say do your makeup first. I mean, do your eye makeup first and then do your foundation, and then you'll be fine. The other thing is the longevity on these shadows aren't the best. The mattes are really good in terms of longevity, but the shimmer shades, you know, your oils will come throughout the day, so they don't really last very long. So the way to make them last is really to use an eye primer underneath, especially if you want them to last an entire day. Use an eye primer, then you will be fine. Concealer is okay as well. You might get some oil baked through, but it's not too bad. Now, what I love about this palette is really the quality. I think this Charlotte Tilbury formula is fantastic. These are shimmers that look very smooth on the eye. Like, let me swatch one of these shimmers for you. Go right here. So this is like one of those shimmers from Charlotte Tilbury. I mean, did you see that? That was incredibly smooth, and look how beautifully pigmented that is. Wow. I mean, wow. The quality of this palette, I'm really stunned. Another shade I want to swatch for you is actually this shade right here. This is a very interesting purple. It's like a muted purple shade that is, I've actually worn this for work as well because it doesn't look too intense and it looks really, really beautiful on the eye. And that is this shade right here. Can you see that? Like, I've done looks where I've just had this shade smoked out all over my eye and that's it. Some eye pencil, mascara, and you're good to go. How beautiful is that shade? So just gonna swatch this shade for you at the bottom right here as well, and that is this shade right here. This palette is such great value for money because the quality is phenomenal. Yes, there's fallout. Yes, they don't last on their own the whole day, but they will last with an eye primer. And they're super pigmented. They're very easy to blend. Even the shimmer shades, you can very easily blend them out. And they look so smooth on the eye. Like if you have texture on your eyelids, if you have mature eyes and you want to try a really great shimmer formula, I think going with the Charlotte Tilbury is going to be a good idea. So I've really been enjoying this palette and I'm so happy I picked it up. I mean, the shade selection, I will say, is kind of weird. Like, I don't understand why there's this very bright matte shade. It doesn't quite look like that. Like on the eye, it looks a little bit more deeper, which is great. It makes that a little bit more variable. So I find that the shade selection is perhaps a little bit confusing, but really all these shades I can wear. The only shade that I'm going to say I don't wear much is this shade right here, which is quite light. But this shade, if you wear it sort of like as a halo eye, so for example, what I've done before is I've done this shade right here all over the eye and then just used this shade right in the middle just to give that eyelid a little bit of dimension and some pop, and that worked beautifully. I'm actually considering buying the Zendo palette from Natasha Denona. I was definitely not going to buy it. Just looking at the color story, I just thought I wasn't very interested. And then I saw it in store and I swatched it and I fell in love. I think there was only like one shade that didn't swatch properly. And it was a shade that I wasn't going to use anyway. So I think I might pick that up. If you have the Zendo palette, can you let me know what you think of it? It's certainly swatched very beautiful and it looked very versatile. It had lots of different shades. So I'm thinking perhaps during sale time I might pick that up. The next one I've been loving is Pat McGrath. So this is the Subversive 3, Mothership 3 palette. I have no words to describe this palette. Wow. So this palette is incredibly stunning. I think the color story with this one is fascinating because it has so many different shades. You can get so many different looks with this palette. I loved, for example, combining this shade and this shade right here. So if you pop this shade all over the eye and then you apply this beautiful color on top, it's incredible. And even this shade, you can just see how it looks on camera. It's a beautiful violet purple. Oh my god, it looks incredible on brown skin. Then you have this yellowy, greeny gold. Oh my god. I'm gonna have to swatch that for you. So this one right here, I think I have a shade like this anywhere in my palettes. So this is that mini gold palette right there. I'm going to swatch right next to it and it's very different. So you can see right here. So this is the Pat McGrath. That's the Natasha Denona mini gold. And this is the Pat McGrath. Look at that eyeshadow. How incredibly beautiful. And then recently when I did my Fenty video, I think it was the eye brightener fix video, I used these two shades right here for my eye look. So obviously this is an older palette, this is not new, but I just think this palette is amazing. Like the color story, the quality, it's all these shades look great on brown skin tones. And this shade right here, by the way, is a stunning highlighter. I use this as a highlighter. It's not shimmery and massively sparkly or anything like that. It's actually very soft and it looks beautiful on the cheek. So let's move on to some single eyeshadows. I actually recently picked up the Hourglass single eyeshadow. So I've never really tried these. Like I've heard so much about this. This is the scattered glitter eyeshadow from Hourglass. Like this has been raved about massively over the years, but never bought them. So I bought the shade Vivid, which is this really beautiful muted green. This formula is banging. Like it's banging. It's so good. I can see why they were so popular. It's amazing quality. They're also made in Korea, so that tells you why they're so good as well. So right here, this here is the Hourglass shade in Vivid. And this as an eyeshadow is absolutely gorgeous. You can see that. I feel like this is one of those shades that if you're kind of scared of wearing green eyeshadows and you want something that's a little bit muted and not too out there, this is an excellent shade to pick up. You can really control how much you apply. You can apply just a sheer amount, or you can pile it on. Even if you pile it on, it doesn't look too much. It doesn't look intense. Like, it doesn't look super intense, and it just sparkles and looks beautiful under the lights. Ah, my God. I'm gonna have to go and check out more shades on this because wow, definitely worth the hype. Next up is the Natasha Denona liquid eyeshadow. So these are the chromium liquid eyeshadows. These are limited edition. They came out last year. I believe they're still available. This is the shade Ultraviolet, and I have talked about it on my channel before. I'm only going to do a small swatch because these are precious and they're limited edition, so I don't want to waste it. But this is the shade right here, Ultraviolet. Incredible. Look at that. Wow. And I find this shade to be very wearable. Like, I can wear this during the day, obviously not to work, but when going out, I can wear it during daytime, nighttime. It looks so complex on the eye. It has a beautiful violet base and that golden shift that comes through. It's so pretty. Oh my God. I really actually want to buy a backup of this because I don't know how long these will last. And this shade particularly I've been wearing a lot. It's a lot more wearable than my other shade that I have, which is Scarab. Also a stunning shade, but that one is very intense. I feel like I really have to be in a specific kind of mood to use that. But this one, it's very wearable in my opinion. Next up, I want to mention the Dominique Cosmetics liquid eyeshadow. So this is the shade Shy Girl, and I didn't think I was going to like this. It's like this pinky mauve eyeshadow that looks so pretty on the eye. This is the eyeshadow I was wearing in my Kosas powder review. So this is this shade right here. It's this pinky mauve that actually looks so stunning. Just blended out all over the eyelid. This blends like a dream. I had absolutely no issues blending this out. Beautiful product from Dominique Cosmetics. And lastly, for single eyeshadows, I also want to mention my Charlotte Tilbury cream eyeshadows. Love these. So the two shades that I've been reaching for the most are Amber Gold and Star Gold. Look how beautiful they are. So this shade right here is Amber Gold and this shade is Star Gold. And what I end up doing actually is I end up using Amber Gold a lot for work. So if I just want a very sheer, slightly glossy eye for work, I will end up using that. And if I'm going out, I'll end up using Star Gold. And both of them are just beautiful, just beautiful products from Charlotte Tilbury. They do crease, so in my video I do talk about how to prevent them from creasing, which is really just don't apply too much, use an eye primer, and then you'll be fine. Now for foundations, I have been really loving my Dior Skin Glow foundation and the Bobbi Brown Longwear. This is the Longwear Weightless Foundation SPF 15. So both of these are a great color match for me. So in the Dior, I am 3 Warm Olive. In the Bobbi Brown, I'm Golden Natural, and perfect. These two, I don't have to mix and match. I don't have to do any of that. I can just wear these on their own and they look great. They look great. I love the Dior one has a slightly more hydrating finish, slightly more dewy, whereas the Bobbi Brown is definitely your matte foundation. I've been really loving the Anastasia Beverly Hills Tinted Brow Gel. I've just got a little travel size and it's lasting me a long time actually, which is very interesting. I love this for work because it's super easy to use. It looks really light and soft on the brow hair. It doesn't tint my brows too much. It's kind of mistake proof. Like, I haven't made any errors with this. It's not like you apply a lot of product and you have to kind of fix it. Nothing like that. It just works brilliantly, and the shade is really nice. It's this very cool tone ashy brown. I love it. It works brilliantly. Then I want to mention Anastasia Beverly Hills. Now this is a product that I've really liked this product. but it can give a slightly soapy look to the eyebrows. Like my eyebrows can look sometimes like they have this clear waxy film on top, and I don't like that look. However, what I love about this is that it gives my eyebrows this piecey look. It's almost like you're using a texturizing hairspray, but for your brows. It keeps the hold, it gives that piecey look. So although I've been really enjoying this, and I do use it, sometimes if you use too much, it can make your eyebrow hair look like a little bit soapy, almost like you have that soapy residue, that white soapy residue that's left on the brow hair that you haven't quite cleaned up properly. So just don't use too much. If you have this, I guess maybe just don't use too much of it. And I think it's because I have such dark black brows that that color, it kind of looks a little bit more prominent. But it's not bad. It's not something that anybody notices. It's just because I'm very pedantic. I can look in the mirror and be like, yeah. All right, lastly, I want to talk about some lip products. I have been loving Lisa Eldridge lipsticks, and her matte formula, it's so gorgeous. Like what I'm wearing at the moment is her two orange lipsticks, Velvet Dragon and Velvet Morning. So I've got Velvet Decade all over my lips, and then right in the middle I've got Velvet Morning. I've actually been loving both these shades. So this is Velvet Decade and this is Velvet Morning, and I have been absolutely loving to combine the two, having this shade all over my lip because I feel a little bit more comfortable with this shade, and then right in the middle I will apply a generous amount of this, and it just gives me such a beautiful orange look to the lip. So pretty. Yeah, definitely recommend Lisa Eldridge matte lipsticks. They're amazing. Of course, I still want to mention, and I think I mention this all the time, MAC Powder Kiss liquid lip colors. These are beautiful. They never dry out my lips. They look really stunning. They give you this soft velvet look to the lips, and they're just so beautiful. And the two shades I have here right now, these are were in my work handbag, so I had to pull them out from my bag. So I have the shade here, Impulsive. Of course, I wear Impulsive a lot actually. And More the Merrier, which has a slightly pinky purple hue to it. Both these shades are absolutely stunning. So this is the shade right here, More the Merrier, and this is the shade Impulsive. Very pretty. And I also want to mention new MAC Love Me liquid lip colors. This is the shade Feel Me. Oh no, this is the shade Bragging Rights. I also love Feel Me. I actually can't find Feel Me. I feel like it's probably hidden in my work bag somewhere because I wear the shade Feel Me to work all the time. But I'll show you what Bragging Rights looks like. So this is the shade Bragging Rights. It's like a nice deep terracotta brown shade. Whew. Can you see how pigmented these are? I mean, just look at that. That's some serious pigment. So these are actually satin lipsticks. They're not matte, they're satin. They look very creamy on the lips. They're super pigmented. And that's amazing for people that have brown lips or pigmented lips, because it means that it's actually going to cover your lip pigmentation, and it's actually going to show you this true color on your lips. They have never dried out my lips ever, not even once. I've been wearing them to work and nothing. On top of that, I actually find them a little bit hydrating. Like when I remove them, my lips are so comfortable, they feel hydrated. Incredible formula from MAC, and what I'm hoping they will do is actually get more shades, because one of the things that I find a little bit disappointing in this range is that there aren't many nude colors, and for me, I really want to see more nude colors in this range. Just like the Powder Kiss has so many nude shades, you know, you can take your pick, but it's really not the case in this range. So that's something I'm looking forward to in the future, because this formula is divine. So these were really, guys, products that I've been really loving and been using kind of non-stop for the last couple of months. Some of them are a little bit more new to me, like the Natasha Denona liquid blushes, but however, most of these products I've actually had for a while, and I can't get enough of these products. Such great releases, such great products, and I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in my next video. See ya!